So, welcome to BOSCO MUN 2.0's orientation. We believe in the motto of debating, defying, and finally delivering. Our Instagram handle is at bosco.mun, which is probably the page where you have probably gone to check us out. So, beginning with the very first question, what is an MUN? So, MUN is a short form for Model United Nations. A, a few of you might know what an MUN already is. A few of you don't even know what an MUN is, and they are here for a learning experience. So, MUN is basically a very fun and educational simulation of the United Nations. MUN is that one place where you can actually become a person who's representing a particular country and actually act like it is your own country. You're representing them and you're debating on behalf of your country at a global platform. In an MUN, you discuss those real world scenarios, real world problems, and work together to find solutions through debate and negotiation, because negotiation is one of the biggest aspects that you have to go through when you're actually debating. So, coming to the history of model United Nations, MUNs typically began with in the 1940s with the first session at Harvard, and slowly it became popular worldwide. There were there were tons of reasons for it, but the main reason is that MUN is very fun, and at the same time, it's a growing learning opportunity for students across. Just a minute. I think there was a doubt, right? We would request you to not post any chats at the moment. All questions and answers will be taken up right at the end of the orientation. We have a specific time allotted for it. We request you not to use the chat. Thank you. All right. Coming back to the history of it, MUNs, as I told you before, is starts in the 1940s and originally started with Harvard and slowly became popular worldwide. It gives students a chance to learn about diplomacy and fostering cooperation and global issues by acting like real world United Nations representatives. Going further, you might even ask yourself, why should I even participate in an MUN? Shouldn't I just stay at home for a weekend MUN? Instead of a weekend MUN, I should just stay at home, binge a movie, probably just chill around. But actually participating in an MUN has tons of benefits and skills. We have just listed out a very few of the benefits and skills. For me, in my personal opinion, those benefits and skills which I got out of MUNs is way more than what it is written right now. These are just the things which are very common across all the people who are MUNs, right? The first benefit is that it boosts your confidence in public speaking. See, there are tons of people out there who are trying to do MUNs, trying to do debating. But MUN is that one platform which forces you to just come out and have confidence in yourself. Public speaking is one of the biggest growing challenges right now because people, as time evolves, are getting more introverted and they just need to move out of their shell in order to explore their real potential and talent. And MUN is a perfect way to explore how much of a potential you have in public speaking. Going further, you really gain the real world diplomacy experience. It is just not about that, okay, you are representing Canada, you went in an MUN, you said some stuff about Canada, this and that, you talked about these policies, just passed a resolution just like that. You really understand how the world works, how countries represent themselves in a platform where everything seems like competition, everything needs cooperation, but at the same time, it's like a hunger fight every. Going further, you can enhance your college applications. A lot of colleges, including for that matter Ivy Leagues, and for that matter even colleges in the UK, really value those people who are really into MUNs, because MUN is not just a platform for you to show debating skills, it's a platform for you to show how confident you are, how much of a leadership personality you have inside yourself, how much of a leadership potential you have. So, enhancing college applications is one of the biggest perks that you'll get by participating in an M. Going further, you really have the network which you can build with future leaders. A lots of future leaders today, including those ones who are into politics today, really are into MUNs because MUN is at one place where you can really show off and at the same time really harvest your debating potential. Going further, the skills which you gain out of it, even if you don't have any right now, is the research and critical thinking. You need to really much get into your delegation, your country which you're representing, and then really understand what the situation is right now and act just like that and act how the real president of that particular country would. Going further, you really develop the debating and negotiation tactics. That skill is something which you'll actually need for your entire life, be it in a job interview, be it in a college interview, everywhere. Negotiation and debating are the two key points which you'll need everywhere. Going further, you have the teamwork and leadership. I I pretty much understand that's very self-explanatory. Then problem solving under pressure. When you're in an MUN, it's not just about you over there. There are other people who are fighting with you. Some people fight against you. Now, when someone else, maybe even a group for that matter, is actually fighting against you, then you really need to, you know, think and act accordingly because a rash decision is always the worst decision. So you really need to think about the situation, how to fight the fight that you're getting, and really make a problem into a solution. Going further, it's a strategy development. Anything can't be pretty much possible to be into this thing is strategy. Anything which you do needs to have a strategy. Everyone has their own strategy. So your strategy to win an MUN, to win the best delegate or the high commendation, is basically your own strategy. A strategy can't be shared. A strategy is very unique to you. How you want to fight for yourself, for your own country, and at the same time, make sure that the entire committee is in your way. Going ahead, we have the structure of MUN conferences. We have Abdullah Mohsin saying this.
Yes, it's great. So in a committee, of course, it includes the delegates like us who represent different countries. But a committee also has something called the executive board or EB. The EB is the team that manages the whole session and makes sure things stay on track. It has three main members. Firstly, the chairperson. The chairperson is the head of the committee. They control the flow of the debate, decide who speaks when, and make sure everyone is following the rules. If you mess up or forget something, the chair is usually the one who guides you. Secondly, secondly comes the vice person. The vice person helps the chairperson. Like they keep time and manage the speaker list and often give you help during the session. If you are confused or need help with a point, they are the go-to person. Thirdly comes the repeater. The repeater is likely the note keeper and message manager. For example, they write down what's happening in the session, like speeches or key points. They mark the scores or points you earn when you send chats or participate actively. They handle chats, they pass messages, chats between delegates, and may even reply to your questions. They may also answer your POIs, which are points of information, which you may ask them for any doubt or anything you have written to the executive board from your notepad. So basically, the EB is here to support and supervise. As a delegate, interact with all of them during the conference. Hand it over to Amish. Amish, please continue.
So, what is the structure of MUN? So, to those of you wondering what happens in a typical MUN, let me break it down. It's not just a debate, It's a simulation of real international diplomacy. Every role and rule is designed to give you the experience of how global negotiations actually work. So, the first, delegates represent countries. Each one of you will be a delegate representing a country, political party, or leader. Your job is to speak on behalf of that country, present their stance, and defend it during debates. You will engage in formal speeches, negotiations, and team discussions, all while staying in character. So let's say if you're representing say China, if you don't give your opinion, you speak and act based on China's interest. Now, Secretariat manages everything because the Secretariat is the team behind the scenes. That's us. We handle the logistics like rooms, placards, stationery. We also handle scheduling like when debates or breaks happen. We also handle delegates' concern and queries, also ensuring smooth and professional conduct throughout the event. If you're ever confused, late, or unsure about anything, come to us. We are here to help you and guide you. Lastly, MUN is a simulation of real UN diplomacy. MUN isn't just public speaking, it's a complete process involving researching your country and topic, engaging in structured debate and discussions, working in teams during unmoderated caucuses, writing working papers and resolutions with actual solutions, and voting and passing those resolutions as a group. By the end of the conference, you will have simulated what real world diplomats do, including crisis, responses, negotiations, and international policymaking. Think of MUN like a Netflix political drama. Only you're the main character. There are speeches, alliances, drama, diplomacy, and eventually resolutions. But it's all structured and respectful. Handing on the next slide to Milan.
All right. So, coming to how does an MUN really work? Now, MUN, as I told you, is the simulation for how it's just like how the United Nations proceed, right? Now, there are certain terms and there are certain things that you need to know if you're actually into MUNs. The first is an unmoderated caucus. Now, don't be intimidated by the word caucuses. Caucuses are basically a classification. It's mainly a term for like class. A class doesn't necessarily mean that you're learning in 12th grade or some stuff like that. It's very different. The context is very different. Unmoderated caucuses are typically those time slots in the entire committee, which you guys decide when to have it, is basically the platform or the time when you really have an informal discussion and negotiation. During this caucus, you can just roam around and meet other people in your committee and then discuss on what agenda you're already discussing right now, and then really talk about what you want to do and how and make a strategy with them, and then cooperatively moving towards a better end of the committee. So basically, it's just an informal discussion and negotiation. The executive board, which short is for EB, where the EB does not mark you on how you perform in an unmoderated caucus. There are no speeches. There is just informal discussion between you and other team members. Okay. Going forward, you have moderated caucuses. So moderated caucuses are basically the the time where you actually speak on behalf of your country. You discuss on a particular topic for which the moderated caucus is open. After a very fruitful discussion in your unmoderated caucuses, you all will come to a final decision as to what to actually talk about, what to debate about, or what to discuss about. Now, once the agenda or the topic is actually decided amongst you guys in the committee, you guys will open a moderated caucus, which is the official moderating time, where you will say that the one person has a time to speak for 1.5 minutes or 2 minutes, and then you open this particular caucus. The EB will give you a list on on what order the countries will speak and for how many minutes, and then you guys will finally start with your speeches. You will introduce your country's position, formally debate on the focus topics in those moderated caucuses. This is basically where your real debating starts. Every word that you say, every character in those words is actually marked by the EB. And this is where you get yourself into a position to actually win the MUN. Going further, you have draft resolutions. This is normally done unofficially until the very end of the MUN. So, say you have an alliance, which is the group of countries which you want to have. For example, you're representing Germany, and you have a pro Nazi alliance with you. Maybe for that matter, Japan is in your alliance. So you go and make an alliance with Japan. That is a group with Japan. That group is basically called an alliance. Now, you can actually make resolutions which are proposed solutions for the agenda or for the topic that you're discussing to actually come into effect from the chairperson or the executive board by making an alliance, or you can propose it individually. It is completely your decision whether you want to proceed with an alliance or whether you don't want to proceed with an alliance. You need to write that document very deeply so that the chair or the vice chair can really understand what you're trying to say and what you're trying to fix with the resolution. And then finally, the executive board will come down to voting. Just drafting these resolutions won't really work. You need to make them come into effect, right? For that, the executive committee will either do a roll call or will actually say the entire resolution. They will call out the entire resolution and then ask you to vote yes, no, or abstain. Then, if you raise the placard for a yes, then you actually vote for the resolution to be passed. If it's a no, then you uh, don't like the resolution and just say no to the proposed resolution. Abstain is basically you don't want to comment on anything. It's neither a yes or a no. Next, off to Amish.
So, what is MUN and how does it work? Model United Nations or MUN is a simulation of real United Nations conferences. Each of you represents a country or political leader and will debate important global or historical issues from their perspective. To make this fair and structured, we follow a formal set of rules. First, formal procedure. You cannot just speak freely like in a classroom. You need to raise your placard and wait for the chair to recognize you. Always remember to speak in third person. For example, if you're representing Germany, so you will say, the delegate of Germany believes that. This keeps the debate diplomatic and respectful, like it is in the actual UN. Second, structure of debate. There are different formats in which you will speak. First, moderated caucus. These are quick speeches on a subtopic, usually 30 to 90 seconds long, and the chair decides who will speak. Second, unmoderated caucus. No speeches in this one. You can move around, form blogs, and work on documents with others. Use moderated caucuses to bring attention to ideas and unmoderated caucuses to actually build solutions. Also, there are points of orders and inquiry. Point of order is used when the delegate makes a factual or procedural mistake while speaking. And parliamentary inquiry is used when you're confused about procedure. For example, can we motion for a new caucus? Third, resolutions and amendments. So, a resolution is a document with solutions written by the delegate. Think of resolutions as your final output. If passed, they become the committee's official stance. In order to pass it, you need signatories, you need to present it, and you need a majority vote. Amendments allow you to make changes to a resolution by adding, removing, or rephrasing content. Fourth, roll call voting. So the chair may do a roll call vote where each delegate says yes, no, abstain, or yes with rights. And lastly, the working papers. These are the rough drafts before resolutions. You'll need to follow a format and submit them for the EB to review. Keep in mind, the better your paperwork and content, the more seriously you will be taken. Also, the diplomatic decorum, always try to be calm, respectful, and professional. Never attack or argue personally with others. Speak through the chair and not directly to other delegates. And even if you disagree with the delegate, do so politely because this is about diplomacy, not winning arguments. Handing on to Prashant.
Coming to the points. Now, for first timers, this may seem all very intimidating, but trust me, that doesn't get any simpler. Simply put, a point in a committee is a kind of request made by a delegate to disrupt the flow of debate. There are many kinds of points which can be issued, the most commonly used ones of which I'll be discussing in detail. Firstly, we have point of order. A point of order is used to point out a factual or a procedural error. A point of order can be raised only after the speaker is done with their speech. You cannot interrupt the speaker. Now, something important to keep in mind is that points of order carry marks. So raise one only and only when you are sure that there was a procedural or factual error made by the speaker or the executive board. Next up, we have point of information, which is of two kinds. One to the speaker. This is raised when a delegate wishes to question the speaker on the agenda or topic of discussion. You may question their stance or their strategy, for example. Two, point of information to the chair. A delegate may raise a point of information to the chair if they are unsure of the procedures being followed. Point of personal privilege. A delegate may raise a point of personal privilege whenever they experience any inconvenience. You may use a point of personal privilege if you need to use the restroom, for example, or are unable to hear the speaker or experience any kind of discomfort that could hamper the proceedings in a committee. Point of parliamentary inquiry. When the floor is open, that is, when there's no active speaker, a delegate may rise to a point of parliamentary inquiry to ask the chair a question regarding the rules of procedure. This, however, should never ever interrupt the speaker. Point of clarification. A point of clarification is also known as a point of inquiry. Delegates raise a point of clarification if they are unable to understand what the speaker mentions or need a deeper understanding of their idea. Point of investigation. Delegates raise a point of investigation to examine something related to the debate. Say, say you wish to gather some evidence to support or oppose the speaker's stance. This, however, is rarely used in school MUNs, so you need not worry about it much. Now you know all about points, but how do you raise one? To raise a point, the delegate must first raise their placard. Once recognized by the executive board, you say, the delegate of so and so would like to raise a point of information, inquiry, order, or personal privilege as the need may be. Once recognized, you may proceed with whatever the issue is. That's all you need to know about points. Moving on, we have motions, and we have Abdullah speaking for it.
Okay, so after understanding points, next comes motions. Think of motions as formal ways to suggest changes or actions in the committee. You don't just stand up and say something. You raise your placard and state a motion in a clear format. If enough delegates agree, it passes. It's simple. So the types of motions are the first one is motion to open the speakers list. It is used to start formal debate and allow delegates to give speeches. For example, if you want to raise it, you will say motion to open the general speakers list on the topic of cybersecurity or any other topic of your choice. Secondly comes motion to close the speakers list. It stops new people from being added to the list of speakers. For example, motion to close the general speakers list. This means we will now move toward ending debate, or starting voting after the current speakers finish. Next comes motion to set the agenda, used at the beginning when there are two or more topics and we need to decide which one to discuss first. For example, if your committee has two topics, one is nuclear disarmament and the second one is cyber warfare, you would say motion to set the agenda to topic 2, cyber warfare. Then the committee will vote. The topic with majority votes will be selected as the agenda. Next comes motion for a moderated caucus for a timed formal discussion on a specific subtopic with short speeches and chair choosing speakers. For example, you would say motion for a moderated caucus of 10 minutes with 1 minute speaking time on the subtopic impact of cyber attacks on developing countries. Next comes motion for an unmoderated caucus for informal discussions, lobbying, or working on resolutions. You will say motion for an unmoderated caucus of 15 minutes to discuss possible clauses for the working paper. Everyone now can move around and talk freely in this motion. Next comes to motion to introduce a draft resolution. Once you have written a complete resolution with your block, so a block is when you, with other delegates representing different countries, come together with an agenda and choose to be against it or for it. It is your choice. Once you have written a complete resolution with your block, use this to present it to the committee. Next is motion to amend. If you want to change something in a draft resolution that's already been introduced, so it will amend the draft resolution. Um, Motion to table or adjourn debate. It is used to pause or stop discussion on a topic. Next is motion to close debate. Now it is used when everyone has spoken enough and it's time to vote. Lastly, motion to appeal the chair's decision. If you feel the chair made an unfair or incorrect ruling, use this to formally object. Now you can't just stand up and you will have to be formal in this debate. So now comes Agastya. Head over to Agastya.
Yeah. So what is a resolution? So a resolution, which is a formal document, which are written by the delegates of each of the country which you're representing. Let's say, for example, the delegate of the US. So that which explains the problem, like the agenda which you're talking about, in which you are debating, and suggest solutions to it, like what your country have actually adhered to, and request actions. So resolutions are voted by all of the delegates present in the committee, and it can be voted on as pass or fail.
Okay, so now let's talk about how the voting really works in an MUN. So the delegates can vote by choosing a yes, no, or an abstain when a draft resolution or amendment is actually presented in the committee. So each country, or what we call as delegate, gets one vote. Even if you are in a double delegation committee, say you are in a double delegation committee at some time, you will get a chance to vote only once. Both the people have one chance to vote. So each country or delegate gets one vote, and the outcome depends on the total count of these responses. See, even though it's a very big organization, even though there are veto powers in the United Nations, you will have some sort of recognition within that particular committee. If you're representing an organization, you may or may not have the rights to vote. That depends on what organization you chose to delegate as in the committee. For example, you are delegating as G20. It is completely up to the chairperson or the vice chairperson to actually decide whether you, as G20, can have a right to vote in the committee or not. Now, if you have a majority of the votes saying no, then the draft resolution proposed or the amendment will be rejected then and there. If it is a yes, then of course it is it is amended, or the draft resolution is opted and has been declared as the resolution. A majority vote is required for a motion or a resolution to pass. This means more than half the votes cast must be in favor of yes. If there is no majority, the resolution or amendment fails to pass. Now, normally in the election, you have an option of what we call as I forgot that thing. It is nata, I guess. Nota, yeah. None of the above. None of the above is basically when you believe that either the all the political members, I'm talking in context to real world elections, you have an option to choose nota, which is none of the above. You choose that particular option when you really believe that none of the proposed leaders actually have that capability to choose the person or to be the person who's leading in the democracy. That is when you use nota. That is something which is very much used in MUNs as well. You want to give a neutral comment saying that I am not against it, neither am I for it. I just want to be in the neutral part of it, because maybe saying you are Iraq and the resolution is to completely destroy or terrorist activists, terrorist camps, maybe. Okay, the resolution is to destroy all terrorist activities and terrorist camps. Iraq is one of those very countries which officially supports terrorist activities. Now, as Iraq, you would not want to say yes and no as well. So you will abstain it. Abstain is basically you don't want to comment on it at all. Off to Agastya for tips.
Yeah. So next up is the tips for a success in an MUN. Um, so to succeed in an MUN, one should know their like country and the topic properly. So one should not hesitate at any point and just speak clearly and confidently, and especially just respect others' views. We should be open to compromise, lie, and use points and motions smartly. And then the something the pointers are like research well on your country and topics before you step into a committee. Make sure you all have thoroughly researched your assigned country stance, history, foreign policy, and how it relates to the agenda. One should know the fact, treaties, and especially key stats or any past action your country has taken. Solid research builds credibility and can help you design your position strongly. Then, when speaking clearly and confidently, public speaking is like the main aspect of an MUN. Whether you are giving a speech or raising a point, your voice needs to be clear, steady, and confident. And then confidence not only makes you more authoritative but also helps you gain attention of the room. Then one should listen respectfully to the others. Like basically MUN is a two-way process. It's not just about speaking but also listening. Respect other delegate speeches even if you disagree. Listening actively allows you to respond with the relevant counterpoints, build alliances, and better understand committee dynamics. Then be ready to compromise. Diplomacy is just about, let's say, negotiation and not domination. You won't always get everything you want in a resolution. So just be flexible and adjust properly. One should find common ground with delegates and be willing to adjust their clauses or language. Then use points and motions smartly. Like master the rule of procedure. When to raise a point of information, motion for a moderated caucus, or motion to adjourn. Like these tools help control the direction of the debate and highlight your presence. Using them strategically shows experience and can shift the focus of the entire committee. Then use points and motions smartly. So like since it's repeated, emphasizing it again. Know when and how to use procedural tools. Don't overuse them, but make sure you are seizing moments to steer discussion or challenge when needed. And then have fun and learn. MUN is more than just awards. It's like having a learning experience. Enjoy the process, make new friends, and absorb as much as you can about global issues, diplomacy, and negotiation. Every committee, win or lose, makes you a better speaker and thinker. And lastly, stay adaptable and think on your feet. Committee sessions are unpredictable. Resolutions change, blocks break, alliances shift, and you have to be quick to respond. Adapt your strategy based on what's happening in real time. Don't panic under pressure. Instead, think logically and act swiftly.
All right. One another tip that I want to add to this one is to think calmly under pressure. There might be three or maybe even four countries which are fighting against you. Maybe you said something which you later realized was wrong, which you should not have, and four other countries are attacking you. Some even personally, which is not very ethical and professional, but they really are doing so. How should you actually tackle that particular situation? It really depends on how much of a strategy you have in mind. This is where the skill which I first talked about strategy development really comes into play. It's about how you want the committee to believe in your words. Say your agenda is to, uh, as I told you before, as to dissolute and destroy all terrorist activities, and at the same time all terrorist camps. Okay, that's a really nice thing to think of. Now, when I think about that, actually, there has to be a strategy in what the committee you need to go through, because without a strategy, if you're just doing things here and there, you actually won't reach anywhere. I have been there. I have been in your shoes. I have done things without a strategy, without clearly having a plan in mind, and randomly doing things here and there to reach absolutely nowhere. So make a strategy when you're actually in an MUN, whether you are experienced or not. I literally won the verbal MUN in a verbal mention in a national MUN, something which I didn't even predict at that point of time. I was doing a double delegation in UNSC, which is UNHSC, which is Historical Security Council. And that was one of the most toughest committees in the entire national MUN that day. And we won a verbal mention, not because I literally uh, told the entire committee to vote for my resolution or anything like that. That was because I strategized and made a proper plan as to what other people should really think about my strategy. I really used human psychology. I used other things or other planning things which are really into what your committee really is, in order to think and drive the entire committee along your way into thinking like I am the one who's running the entire committee. Okay, now the orientation has almost come to an end, but it's not over yet. We need to discuss the entire agendas so that we can give you a comprehensive understanding of what really we mean by the agendas and what really the EBs will look for in your speeches, in your GSLs. GSL is basically general speakers list, or any other method of submitting your your proof of work. We at Bosco MUN 2.0 offer very experienced chairs and mentors. You will see that our MUN has chairpersons who have an experience of over 100 MUNs. This year, in the chairperson panel, we have a person who is an actual Delhi High Court lawyer, and that comes with a lot of experience. What you can learn from them, how you can understand from how they think about the world diplomacy, about international culture fostering, all those things. These people are really great for you to learn with, and for you to learn from. As an experienced chairperson, the committee the adrenaline in yourself when you actually are in the committee and when you're debating in that particular committee, the adrenaline rush and that adrenaline which drives you during that particular committee session, it's amazing, and we exactly offer you that. This year we have chairperson panels who have at least 100 MUNs experience, vice chairpersons who at least have 50 to 75 MUNs experience, and repertoire applications will be open very soon. We offer comprehensive study materials and guides. Often, I have seen in a lot of MUNs, even in the ones that I have been participating in, they don't offer what we call as study materials or guides, or what we often call as the background guides. Lot of EBs will try to just push off the fact that they have to submit a background guide. Background guide is basically where the entire context of that agenda is mentioned, is the entire storyline behind that agenda is mentioned. What are we going to actually discuss, and what is the executive board, which is the EB, going to look for in whatever you do in the committee, is really written in that background guide. It's basically the way for you to win in an MUN. We necessarily provide them to you so that you have that one particular perk which everyone should rightfully deserve. Going further, we offer a very friendly environment to all the first timers. Now you might be wondering that, okay, I'm a first timer. How would I actually even learn to know what an MUN is? After this orientation as well, you will have tons of questions and stuff. But we are here to help you. Your executive boards, your chairpersons, and your vice chairpersons are actually interested in helping you out, in letting you know, okay, it's all right to be a first timer. We all have been a first timer, but we are here to help you. We are here to just help you guide through the entire process to actually win even the first MUN that you're attending. Going on, we have certificates and awards for outstanding participants and great networking opportunities. We give certificates for Special Mention 1, Special Mention 2, and to all the winners, which is the best delegate and the high commendation. We provide them a very excellent cash prize, which is of 7,000 for best delegate and 4,500 for high commendation. And special mention, you only have the certificates and the awards. So, but always remember one thing: we at Bosco MUN don't want you to actually win whenever you attend an MUN. No, we don't want you to. We want you to actually understand how an MUN works. We want you to have your own growth. We want you to grow intellectually, and at the same time, you need to think like a diplomat. We want you to have that sense, that sense in you. And if you really get that sense inside of you, then trust me, your point of being in an MUN is practically more than done by 100%. If you learn how to be a diplomat, if you learn how to think like a diplomat, if you learn how to think and problem solve in very pressurizing situations, you've done your job for being in an MUN and participating in one. Going further, how to prepare for Boscomian 2.0. This year, we have very exciting agendas to speak of. Some agendas are very conflicting as well. I mean, I can expect a lot of drama in that particular committee, given the agenda is very, very hot, honestly. So, coming to how you would want to prepare for Boscomian 2.0, if you're planning to win, then first of all, choose your committee and country wisely. See, the point is that your personality should speak of what country and committee you're choosing from. If you're very rebellious, choose a rebellious country, choose a rebellious committee. If you're very rebellious in words, and if you can really express that rebellious words into really polite words, but at the same time very compelling, choose that particular committee, choose that particular country. Because unless and until it really matches your personality, it is a bit difficult to adjust into that country, adjust into that committee. Because if you're a rebellious one and you are in a silent committee, there's almost a lot of boringness which will, there's a lot of boredom which will fill into you. Coming next, once you choose your country, choose and study your country's policies. The thing in MUN is that really need to work like a diplomat. There are questions which are asked you on a spontaneity basis. Like, immediately, someone can question your research. You really need to know what your country's policies are in order to answer that question effectively. Saying, for a matter of fact, maybe if you are in a committee, which is maybe UNSC, which is Security Council, you are in that particular country, you have particular committee, and you are representing India, maybe, and then um, you are discussing the warfare between Pakistan, the recent warfare between Pakistan. Someone really questions how much of legitimacy you have in your defense mechanisms and defense troops which you have. Something which is very offending to India's defense. But at the same time, you really need to think about that in pressure, that too calmly, and at the same time, you need to know what India's policies are on defense mechanisms, on defense betterments, and everything like that in order to answer that question effectively. Because every character, every word you say is actually counted and marked by the EB. Going further, practice your speeches. If you are not flawless, if you are not effluent, if you're not ecstatic when you are actually representing yourself in front of a committee, then honestly, you can actually fail yourself and the committee members inside your committee. Because you need to really drive the committee in your way. Winning an MUN is way easier than you actually think it is. You just need to do the right research, you just need to do the right amount of strategy planning, and you actually have it in yourself. But you really need to practice your speeches in order to be flawless when you are actually presenting your case in front of the committee. Then work with your team for resolutions. Random things written in your resolutions won't actually get your resolution opted in the committee. You really need to have a very strategic resolution, a very deep resolution, in order to actually understand that, okay, the agenda really needs this kind of solution and not any random solution which maybe ChatGPT suggests. Going further, attend rehearsals and workshops. Some MUNs, even for that matter, some unofficial groups in the committee really organize rehearsals and workshops for first time MUNers, and even for that matter, experienced MUNers, in order to actually win a very high profile MUN. And some even organize workshops for only members or only delegates who are actually registered. Attend them. No matter how much you know about an MUN, no matter how much you hear, how much you learn, how much you read, what you really learn is from the seniors, is what you really learn from the other people in the circuit already, and that too for years. Then prepare for crisis scenarios. It's just a matter of jiffy that a chairperson will announce any big war which is released. Say the chairperson immediately says that another war has started between India and Pakistan. This is the date, this is the time, that is the reason. Prepare for those scenarios. Know everything about your country, about your agenda in detail and in background. Handing over to Amsh.
All right. Now, before we move further, let's pause for a moment. Because I know what many of you are probably thinking. What if I mess up? What if I don't know enough? And what if I just sit there, silently panicking? And let me tell you, that's normal. Every experienced MUNer in this room once sat where you are now, full of doubt and questions. So this next part is for all those unspoken worries. Let's answer the question you might be too shy to ask, the ones everyone has but few say out loud. The first question is, what if I don't know much about a topic? That's completely okay. We are not expecting you to be an expert. What matters is your effort. Read a basic summary of the topic and your country's position. Try to speak with confidence and try to contribute. Listen to others and build on what they say. Also, use general knowledge and logic. Second, how long can I speak? So, the speaking time depends on what the chair sets. In most cases, speeches are between 60 to 90 seconds. Here is a tip: time yourself while practicing at home so you don't go over the limit. Third question: what if I don't want to speak a lot? That's completely fine. Not everyone is a public speaker. There are other ways to contribute, like help your block write resolutions, suggest ideas during unmoderated caucuses, or support others. The EB notices both visible and behind the scene efforts. Fourth is, can I work with friends? Yes, absolutely, especially during unmoderated caucuses. But remember, your alliances and papers must reflect your country's interest, not personal friendships. For example, if you represent Russia and your friend represents the USA, you may have to disagree. Lastly, how is the winner decided? So, the executive board judges delegates based on many factors like quality and clarity of speeches, how clearly and confidently you present your country's views, teamwork and diplomacy, how well you collaborate, form alliances, and respect others during debate. Paperwork like the resolutions or working papers. Leadership, taking initiative in debates, guiding discussions, and helping your bloc stay focused. Lastly, adherence to rules. How well you follow MUN procedure, time limits, and maintain formal conduct. Keep in mind, it's not about how loud or aggressive you are. It's about being intelligent, respectful, and strategic. Handing over to Milan.
All right. Now, before we produce, we come back to further of the orientation, we would love to discuss the agendas because we believe that giving you a comprehensive understanding of what the agendas really are this time, we're discussing the agendas with you. Just a minute, I'll share my screen again. All right. Okay. Here we are. Really sorry for this inconvenience. Okay. Coming to the agendas. So, first, I'd like to deliberate on UNGA DISEC. UNGA DISEC is a very famous committee and it's very common in almost all MUNs. The eligibility for this committee will be for students of classes 7 to 12. Okay. And the agenda is deliberation on geoengineering as a national security threat, evaluating the militarization risk of climate intervention technologies. So the thing is that geoengineering is something which is rapidly growing right now, and there are very much of ethical risks which come along with that. Some critics say that it's okay, like it's just geoengineering, it's just like artificial intelligence, it's just a growing part of the world, it should be probably fine. But maybe actually it is not. We want you to tell us whether actually it is not, whether it is actually a security threat or not. Because it's a very wide discussion. We want you to over here emphasize on whether it actually is even a national security threat, or is there any even a risk of militarization of the climate intervention technologies. Is there anything like that, or is this entire agenda just baseless, or is it actually very correct? We want you to discuss on that based on what your country is. Going further, we have the United Nations Security Council. Eligibility over here again stays students of classes 7 to 12. This year, we do not have double delegation for UNSC. Last year, we had one, but this year, we think that representing it singularly or individually will be way more efficient for this particular topic than actually any other double delegation can do. So, the agenda for this one is evaluating the legitimacy of private military companies and non state armed groups in global conflict management. This entire agenda is very intimidating. For me as well, it was very intimidating. But trust me, this is a very, very, very interesting topic. Evaluating the legitimacy of private military companies. There are like not specifically India, but there are agencies and companies in the United States, in I believe so in Germany as well, which have private military companies which are making these military weapons and providing it to the government. Now, is it actually legitimate? Is it actually legitimate? Is it non-risky or is it actually risky? Are we just giving another chance for a company to leak out secret and confidential government information? And so goes for non-state armed groups in global conflict management. Going further, we have UNHRC, which is United Nations Human Yeah, really sorry for that. I guess there was a network issue. UNHRC, The eligibility of this will be the students of classes 7 to 12, just like UNSC and UNGA DISEC. The agenda over here is accountability for algorithmic discrimination and biased surveillance in human rights violations by state actors. This was very confusing the moment I saw this, but it's very interesting as well. It's very goofy, actually. It's very spicy in terms of how you can actually debate. There can be hundreds of perspectives. There can be hundreds of things which you can put forth the table, and honestly, if you choose this one, it won't be a wrong thing to do. You won't regret it, I'm telling you. Accountability for algorithmic discrimination and biased surveillance and human rights violations by state actors basically mean that you need to hold these state actors accountable for the algorithmic discrimination, which is very similar to how what we use as systemic discrimination and biased surveillance in human rights. There are a lot of state actors today, or people who actually, have these surveillances on human rights, on how people actually evaluate and use their human rights, and some people do surveillance in them. But a lot of people today are actually having a very much of a biasness in that. Some people have caste biasness, for some people have race biasness, some people really think about which country they actually belong to. And we need to hold these state actors accountable for these two main topics of this agenda, and then bring forth a resolution which really puts these state actors accountable, and at the same time, in a future run, it's very safe to do so. Next is UNCSW, which is United Nations Commission for the Status of Women. Eligibility: students of classes 7 to 12. Deliberation on the global rise of anti feminist extremism, political weaponization of gender narratives in conflict states. This is a very interesting topic. You don't have to be a feminist to get in this one. It's very interesting. Trust me, you're not going to regret this one. Deliberation on the global rise of anti feminist extremism. As feminism really grew up into this world, there was this one time where people had a peak for all these feminism. Feminism does not mean gender equality or gender equity between women and men. It does not necessarily have to mean that. It just means equality for you. That's feminism. Equality or equity depends on the context. Now, deliberation, the global rise of anti feminism, just as feminism really rose into the world, anti feminism as well started growing up, because, of course, if there is a good, there is a bad. You need to really talk about the political weaponization of these gender narratives in all these conflict states, especially where this anti feminist extremism is extremely high. That does not include India. Going further, we have the loudest committee, which is AIPPM, All India Political Party Meet. Oh God. So the eligibility over here is the students of classes 9 to 12, undergraduate students, and students pursuing pre-professional courses. We on purpose made the eligibility this hard because we wanted a matured audience over here. The other committees are specifically intended for those people who are new to MUN, or who have a few experiences, but they want to explore MUNs more into just getting into the tougher debates. This is the one which are for the experienced ones. Deliberation on the state of secularism. Sorry for that. Secularism in India, with special emphasis on legislative developments such as the Wakaf Amendment Act, the Uniform Civil Code, and the socio-political implications. You really need to debate about what legitimate, what legitimacy it really had with these which is Wakaf Amendment Act and the UCC and other socio-political implications which actually was caused by them. So you really need to think about what discourse it really played between religions, between cultures, between states, between, even for that matter, the two parts of India, North India and South India. So there are a lot of socio-political implications which you can really discuss. And if you are someone who's above grade 9, congratulations, you had a very good topic to debate on. Honestly, this one, if you really have it, if you really win the best delegate, you can be one of the best guy in the circuit, because this is going to be really difficult for you. Going further is the eligibility for HWC, which is Historical Emergency War Cabinet. This is our BOSCO MUN 2.0's flagship committees, which is Historical Emergency War Cabinet. We wanted you guys to experience a new level or a new horizon of experiences in debates, because honestly, MUNs normally are present MUNs present right now kind of focus on what was actually done today. We guys want you to go back to the history, go back to the paper, and actually live the paper, which is right now. Live the words which are printed on newspapers that day, and actually inspire the words which are written on the newspaper that day. We want you to just get into the arena and actually think like Miss Indira Gandhi ji, or anyone in that particular member of parliament, or anyone in that particular committee, and really think about, was there a better way to actually handle the Indo-Pak war that time, or was the liberation of Bangladesh so necessary that it had to, lead to so many riots? Was there a better way to handle it? Or what Indira Gandhi did was actually right or not? Discuss on that, because that's what we mainly look for in you. Going further, the second flagship committee which we have is the International Political Crisis Council. The eligibility remains the same as Historical War Cabinet and AIPPM, which is students of classes 9 to 12, undergraduate students, and students pursuing pre professional courses, which is managing the collapse of American democracy and the global response to authoritarianism. This is a very conflicting topic right now, because ever since Donald Trump, the president of the United States right now, has stepped into the Congress again, the second entry, there has been accusedly a very big collapse of the American democracy and the American public relations and American relations with the world. Trump had put so many restrictions on uh, even elite institutions like Harvard, Princeton, Columbia, on the finances and the trade war between China and the U.S. China and even for that matter, U.S. and India. There was a big war between that. And how much of a democracy still withstands in the Trump administration? Because what really Trump administration doing right now really seems like it is kind of leading to a dictatorship. So it's up to you whether you are a pro-Trump category or an anti-Trump category. Where do you belong? Do you think that the American democracy is falling, or do you think that America is becoming great again? So think about it, because this is a very goofy topic, and I would have loved to discuss on this. Coming back to the orientation, we now have the early bird delegations. For you guys specifically, we have allocated the early bird delegations up till 3rd of June. The date for the early bird delegations closing has not yet been released, but we're releasing it right here. The early bird delegation fees and early bird delegations will close on the 3rd of June, midnight, exactly at 3rd June, 11:59, 9:59 p.m. We will close the early bird delegations and we will shift to regular delegations, and you will have to pay 2,200. This is just done for you guys in order to you guys have a proper experience, in order to understand the committees, the agendas, and really think about it. And then, um, you know, understanding what the MUN is all about, what Bosco MN offers, and if you wish to register for us, go ahead. And trust me, you're not going to regret participating in Bosco MN 2.0. We have the best EBs, we have the best facilities this time. We are not gonna waste your chance at Bosco MUN. We are really going to support you if you're a first time MUNer. Just trust us on this. Now we come to the Q&A session. If anyone has any question, kindly raise your hand and we will start with the Q&A session right now. All right, I can see a few hands. Uh, Go ahead, Alvin. I pronounced that
So
right,
my
right?
question is, well, Yes, my question is when will the list be like released about who got allotted which country?
So, see, the thing is that in an MUN, as standard protocols, we cannot really disclose of who has got which committee and who has got which candidacy to represent, because the registrations are still open. Well, you can expect, at the moment it's very tentative. We haven't decided the specific date as to release them, because the registrations are still ongoing and we have a huge engagement right now. But you can expect it tentatively, at least or until by the third week of June. We expect it to release by then, but if we still await registrations of higher experience people, then you might have to wait till the last week of June or till early July. We can definitely allot we can definitely make sure that you will have we will have the entire list and the committee is locked by the 6th of June 2025. By that time we are very sure we will be giving you the delegation, but it's not possible for us to give the delegation at least before the third week of June because the registrations are still ongoing. Did I solve your query?
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
uh, I hope it is Mannan Rawat.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. First of all, thank you for your thorough that introduction for the MUN. And secondly, I wanted to ask that I didn't quite understand the limitations or maybe the arguments for school delegation, like 2000 plus 2500. I quite didn't understand it. Could you please explain that?
All right. I don't specifically remember paying 2,500 though. Okay, so we are closing early bird delegations. Early bird delegations, I hope you know that, are basically delegations which are released early and they have a special discount, right? Early registrations basically are known as early delegations in an MUN. So this year, we are closing the early bird delegations on the 3rd of June. We had planned it to close it today, midnight, but we extended it for 2 days so that we can give you guys a bit more of time to understand what an MUN is, to know more about Bosco MUN, and then registering if you want to, and that too for a discounted price. So it is open till 3rd June 11:59. If you register by the 3rd of June 11:59, you will have to pay 2,000 rupees per delegate. And if you are registering from 4th June 000 hours, then you will need to pay 2,200. I hope that is clear. For school delegations, we require at least 5 delegations from the school. If you have any number less than 5, we can't consider you as a school delegation.
Okay, so there's no major distinctive role between normal and the school delegation.
No, there is no differentiation. There is no biasness that okay, this is a priority school or this is a school delegation, so we need to allot them a better portfolio or anything like that. There is absolutely nothing like that. We treat all our candidates and delegates just as much as equal. So we will not have any biasness or anything. And there is literally no difference between a school delegation and an individual delegation. But yes, if you have a school delegation and you are a part of a school delegation, say you are from Summerfields and you registered here for BOSCO MN 2.0 and you are representing the school delegation of Summerfield School, then if Summerfield School's majority of the students win, then you have a chance to win the best school delegation award as well. Is that clear?
Yeah, thank you very much.
All right, welcome. Is it Tanya Grover or am I mispronouncing it?
Yeah, that's correct. I have two questions. First is that is there really a draft resolution in the committee historical emergency war cabinet?
See, historical emergency war cabinet will just as much as proceed like in any present situated MUN. See, the main difference between a historical war committee is that you get a chance to relive the history. Okay. there is not much of a difference between how the historical war committee will actually proceed in terms of opening speeches and stuff. Yes, there will be new updates that this and this has happened now, so you need to change your positions accordingly. That's something which really is the exciting part of the historical committee. But there is not much of a difference between how a historical committee is and how a present committee is. It's just that you can get more information about the history than you get the information about the present scenarios. You get more of excitement and adrenaline rush if you actually just register for an agenda which is really interesting, and you actually get the idea of reliving the history. I'm telling you how the historical war committee will actually go. It completely depends on the executive board, though. This is what we're tentatively aiming for. First of all, the historical war committee, the executive board, will give you that the India-Pak, the warfare has now begun, and now the topic will be left upon the moderated caucus, which you guys can make up and actually may raise a motion for. You discuss one moderated caucus or two. That is totally up to the committee and the executive board. But then, if the executive board wishes that let's proceed it a bit more, let's hypothetically this may never happen. Let's make it a way that Pakistan has now raised a request for liberation for Bangladesh. No, sorry, Bangladesh has now asked for liberation, and they have started with communal riots, which have now turned physical. That is a new update. Then you need to change your strategy. Then you need to change your entire speech in that particular committee to that particular update. In a present scenario MUN or MUN committee, then there probably will be like your updates are what really happened in the world. Maybe suddenly while discussing in the UNGA DISEC, there is a sudden mishap which happens with the geoengineering sector or anything like that. So it's not much different, but at the same time, historical war committees are preferred by a lot of people because they're very interesting to solve through, and they will give you a very classic experience of the MUN.
All right, I had one more doubt. It's a little
Sure.
weird. As in, I have participated in a lot of MUNs, but basically it was like delegation which you get as a country. But in the committee, which is historical war cabinet again, you get an individual, maybe a prime minister or a president. So how do we
Yes.
pass motions in that motions?
Okay, now honestly, to pass a motion, it is not specifically there a rule that to pass a motion you don't have the right or something. Maybe in normal UN committee, there is no distinction between what the right of UK has or what the right of Iraq has in order to raise a motion. Everyone has the same thing. It's just as much as that in the historical war cabinet. What we want you is to live like that particular person who you delegated as. Maybe you got the prime minister. At that time, it was Indira Gandhi ji, and then you step into her shoes, right? You step into her shoes and think like Indira Gandhi ji, and then you think about was is there a better way than what Indira Gandhi originally acted than you as the delegated Indira Gandhi can. It's just like the countries. It's just that we have transferred the authority from that of a country to that of a person, because we want this is a basically a cabinet meeting, right? The entire agenda is situated in the cabinet meeting of 1971. So in that cabinet we will have the members of parliament at that point of time, and the people who are from international organizations or international representatives of countries. It is totally up to you what you want to choose, though. But we just have transferred your identity as a country to that of a representative or the particular member of parliament or anyone who you choose to delegate as.
All right, thank you so much.
Yeah, welcome. Is it Sayed Ibrahim
Yes,
Takir?
hello, Miran. I had a doubt that, like in an immune committee, the delegates will the delegates be penalized for writing idealistic resolutions? Like very unrealistic, but they are still following the particular rules.
Can you give me an example of what you're meaning by idealistic resolutions?
Like
Or
they are promoting some other strategies, like the other delegates might not be like overly voting with.
that is totally up to you, actually. There is no rule that you need to pass things which are actually real world scenarios. The last time when I was in a Security Council committee, one person had drafted a resolution saying that we need to nuclear bomb India and we need to nuclear bomb Russia, directly attack the nuclear bomb sites and then just destroy them. The entire economy would collapse and the US will win. That was basically the entire resolution. It is totally up to you what you actually want to draft a resolution as. But again, your entire committee has to go through with it. Your committee has to actually agree with your resolution is in order to get opted for. As far as I know, as far as I've seen the EB panel marking these things, if you don't have a really, a world case scenario or actually a very practical thing, or if it's very idealistic, then EB panel might hesitate to give you points because it's completely in creative intellect. um, the part of being in an MUN is that you really need to understand the real world scenarios, right? Now, when you're actually into the real world scenarios, you need to understand the point that you're actually debating for real world resolutions as well. It is up to you, though, that you want to bomb another site or you want, to blow up other people's or other countries' things. That's totally up to you. That's totally your intellect and creative intellect and vitality. But I have seen EB panels not marking the same as marks for a realistic and a real world scenario resolution for an idealistic resolution. Though I would not prefer to go against your creative intellect or vitality, I would do prefer that you go for a real world scenario. But if you want the committee to laugh for a bit, or you really need to make a funny note by the end of the committee, then of course you can proceed with it.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, welcome. Are there any other people who have a doubt or anything at all? All right, we proceed to the next part of the orientation, which is how to sign up. And over to you, Vansh.
So, addressing the registration and enrollment process, you may go to our link tree where you will find three different forms. One would be for school delegations, the other would be for individual delegations, and one would be for BOSCO delegations. A school delegation form is for those who want to register as representing a school. I believe there might be a student coordinator or even a teacher coordinator present here. So if you want to register representing your school, you may register through the school delegation form and follow the instructions that have been mentioned there. As far as the individual delegation form is concerned, it is for those who would like to register directly and not through a school. Anyone can register through the individual delegation form.